want you to imagine that you're being woken up. Someone's nudging you and telling you, wake up, wake up. And you wake up and you're a little disoriented. Some of you are doing that right now. But you wake up and you're a little disoriented. Where am I? Because you went into such a deep sleep that you forgot where you were for a moment. And you wake up and you look around and it's the airport. You're sitting in a chair in the airport, and maybe because of the exhaustion of the journey, the gham, the fog of it all, you woke up and whoa, what time is it? What time was my flight? Where is the gate? And you realize that the gate actually might be closing because you've been asleep and you don't know how long you've been asleep for. And you need to hurry up and get to your flight because your senses have come back at least to a point that you recognize that you have a flight to catch. So as you're sort of starting to come back to your senses, there's a trustworthy person that works in the airport, has the uniform, clearly works at the airport and is a well-wisher and says, "Sir, ma'am, can I help you get to your gate? Your flight is this flight. Go this way, walk this way, and then take a right. And you're gonna find the gate right there. Hurry up, the gate is closing." And you know when it says gate is closing? Sometimes it's really nerve-wracking because you don't know if it's gonna close in 10 minutes or 30 minutes because you don't have a visual. But if you're a panicky type of person, you're probably imagining that they're calling final boarding call and they're shutting the gate. So you start running to try to get there. And you're not even sure because you just woke up. Where's my boarding pass? Where's my passport? Let me just hurry up and get there. And you're going and going and going and going. And on the way, you know those people that stop you in the shopping mall, stop you in an airport, it depends what city you're in, and say, "Would you like to get your shoes shined? Would you like to try this chocolate? Would you like to try this Dead Sea salt?" By the way, never try the Dead Sea salt because it's occupied territory. But would you like to try this product? Come do this, come do that. And you're like, I need to get to my flight. I need to hurry up and get to my flight. And while you're going there, gate is closing. And you're just trying to make sure that you're going in the right direction. And you're hoping you don't take the wrong turn, jump on the wrong train. You're not familiar with this airport. I just hope, Ya Allah, start making dua. Ya Allah, I hope I get there. I hope I get there in time. Start making that dua as you're running, panicking. Now, the gate is closing. You've also heard, to add to this, or maybe you had a bad experience with some of your documents being off. If you're a da'i, you know what it's like to be turned away from a plane, get to the gate and say, "Sorry, sir, you can't board." So I'm like, okay, I need to get there really on time before I get the secondary questioning and things of that sort. I hope my paperwork is in order, and I hope I'm not going to be turned away because I've heard that they turn people away at this airport. It's a lot of panic, right? There's a lot of urgency, and that chocolate and that shoe shine and that Dead Sea salt doesn't sound very appealing right now. I just want to catch my flight. The plane is headed for Jannah. The destination is Jannah. First class are the prophets, الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ مِنَ النَّبِيِّينَ وَالصِّدِّيقِينَ وَالشُّهَدَاءِ. The prophets, the companions, the martyrs. It's a pretty big plane. Prophets, companions, martyrs, all of these great people that you heard about, they're in first class. But you might get upgraded based on your status. Keep going. Heading towards that plane. You all have the image. You have the sense of urgency. You have the way that your heart is beating, hoping that you catch it. Now, what is the first ask that you make of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran? Every single dua that you make in the Quran is somehow linked to this dua, and every single action is somehow linked to this purpose. What is the very first dua you make in the Quran? Can anyone tell me? We have a problem, Sheikh Ali. What's going on with the UK? It's the first dua. أول دعاء في كتاب الله. The first dua in the book of Allah. Don't tell me رَبَّنَا لَا تُؤَاخِذْنَا إِن نَسِينَا أَوْ أَخْطَأْنَا. Some du'as before that. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Ya Allah, guide us to the straight path. Guide us to it, guide us upon it. Give us the way to it, give us the steadfastness upon it. Ya Allah, I'm praising you. I am invoking you. The entire purpose of approaching this book, the entire purpose of my existence, all of it will be determined success or failure based upon whether or not you guide me to the straight path, guide me upon the straight path, and get me to where I need to go, which is Jannah, in your pleasure. And it is Sirat al-Mustaqim, it's a straight path. Sirat al-Ladina an'amta alayhim. I want to be with those people that you're pleased with. The prophets, the companions. You can't understand this deen without the Prophet ﷺ and his family and companions. You can't understand this deen without their examples of how to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be on that straight path, no matter what your impulses or inclinations are or personality types are like. You can't understand it without them. Ya Allah, I want to be on that path with them. Not those who have the wrong documents or those that get turned away. Not those who have earned your anger or gone astray. Ya Allah, I want to get on that flight back to Jannah. On the way, there are going to be desires, difficulties. There are going to be all sorts of doors, all sorts of things that try to pull me away. The subject of this particular lecture in the journey back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is probably the most important one, and where I've been trying to summarize this idea of the journey back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's about doubt. What does this all have to do with doubt? Well, if I didn't wake up and I just went back to sleep, or I said, all right, I'll get right back to it, and I went back to sleep, or I said, am I even in the right airport? Am I even flying anywhere? Where am I? Then I'm in the most trouble. If I don't have the certainty that at least there's a plane there and there's a gate and I'm in the right airport and I have the documentation. That is the most devastating situation, because that means I don't know how to get there. But doubt does not arise organically. Someone comes up to me, someone comes up to Sheikh Ali, someone comes up to Mufti Ming, Sheikh Bilal, Sheikh Wahaj. They say, I have doubts about faith. Suddenly I have doubts in Allah. I don't know if the unseen is real. I don't know if Jannah is real. I don't know if the stuff my parents have given to me is real, because you inherited it maybe, not like Sister Patty who took Shahada and worked her way to this point. You just kind of had it given to you and you were told this is where it's supposed to be and this is what it's supposed to be. I don't know if I believe anymore. I don't know if I believe this. I don't know if I believe that. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you, first and foremost, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide you. No one asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely for guidance except that He guides them. No one comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely and asks Allah for guidance except that He guides them. That's why when Hamza radiallahu ta'ala anhu came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he told the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know, when I kind of got into it with Abu Jahl, and I embraced Islam, I said, I am on the religion of my nephew. It was more it felt like it was more just to win the argument, to get in his face, to defend your honor, my honor. But ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide you. Now here's the thing. There is a beautiful tie between the very beginning of the Quran here and the very end. What's going to take you away from the straight path? Who's vested in trying to take you away from the straight path? Shaytan. And so what is the very last thing? قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ مَلِكِ النَّاسِ إِلَهِ النَّاسِ مِنْ شَرِّ الْوَسْوَاسِ الْخَنَّاسِ الَّذِي يُوَسْوِسُ فِي صُدُورِ النَّاسِ مِنَ الْجِنَّةِ وَالنَّاسِ. I seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord of people. I seek refuge in Him from the evil of man, the evil of jinn. The evilest of both of those two creations, the Shaytan himself, who whispers into the hearts of people. Waswas khannas. And then he sinks away when he's failed and he plots another way to get to you, to divert you from your path. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to us to say, min al-jinnati wan-nas, from both the human beings and the jinn. Why? Because sometimes the voices of human shayateen are far more persuasive to you than the voices of the devils. Your friend at school, that person you're interacting with online, whoever it may be that starts putting those thoughts in your mind, that starts telling you certain things, sometimes they are stronger voices of diversion than even the shaitan himself. And here's the thing about the shaitan, and I said this a few nights ago, that the one who's led by desire no longer needs a devil to lead them astray. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has spoken to you through the Prophet ﷺ and given you the path to guidance, and then you took another path, you followed another path, and you're letting nafsin la tashba', a soul with just unlimited craving lead you astray, then at that point, you're just going and going and going and going. أَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَى. People that are just led by their desires. They follow their desires. They worship their desires. Shaytan doesn't really need to monitor you too heavily anymore because you're gone already. You're not even walking in the right path. You've already taken that turn. But who does Shaytan really want to lead astray? Who does he want to get to? Shaytan is not going to wait on the destructive path. Shaytan is going to wait for you on the straight path. And that's why in Surah Al-A'raf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, Shaytan says to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, بِمَا أَغْوَيْتَنِي. He blames Allah. Talk about not being self-accountable. You want to know what makes him such a pathetic being, the most repulsive being in history? How dare you, after Allah gave you the appearance and the rank of an angel and put you in that place in paradise, how dare you then turn around and say, you led me astray, because you led me astray. And I'm going to lead all of them astray. And on top of that, لَأَقْعُدَنَّ لَهُمْ صِرَاطَكَ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ. You know where I'm going to sit for them, where I'm going to be waiting for them, where I'm going to lay all these traps? On Sirat al-Mustaqim, on that straight path. I know that they're not going to be anywhere, that if they're there, they're already gone. I can maybe just nudge them every once in a while and kick them forward and they'll just destroy themselves further. But when they're trying to be on the straight path, Siratak al-Mustaqim, that's where they're going to find me waiting for them. I'm the guy that shows up and says, shoe shine, chocolate, please don't punch someone in the face in the airport and say, you know, Sheikh Omar said you're the Shaytan. Maybe the Dead Sea Salt, no, just don't do that. No, I don't want to get quoted here. I get enough flack, but don't even punch the Zionist selling you Dead Sea Salt in the airport. Just tell them that this is occupied land. Shaytan's the one that comes and plants the traps and says, this way, this way, this way. Let me sell you this. Let me sell you this. Let me sell you this. And the Prophet ﷺ, he told us that the path to Jannah is filled with what? Hardships. Shaytan will try to lead you away from the path of Jannah with your desires or your difficulties. With your desires or your difficulties. His main point is, how do I get you off of this? How do I pull you away from this? Now here's the thing. Desires are natural, difficulties are inevitable. Allah tells us to have perspective in difficulty and desire and to discipline ourselves in both of those situations. But Shaytan is not interested in just trying to get you to taste a little bit more of that desire or suffer a little bit more in that difficulty. You see, Shaytan wants to poison your shahwa with shak, your desire with doubt, and poison your difficulty with doubt. How? He goes for the kill. He knows that when he's got an opening, he needs to take advantage of it, just like any good marketer. You're vulnerable right now. Let me tell you the most, and if you fall for 30% of it, then I've still got you away. So what does he come to you with your difficulty? Ayyub alayhi salam. Why would a merciful Lord do this to you? Not just you should stop praying, you should stop doing all these good things. Why would a Rabb do this to you? Because he wants to disconnect you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala completely, sever you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The pain is bad enough. Not just, man, this difficulty is terrible. Don't even pray anymore. This hardship is terrible. No, why would Allah take your children? Why would Allah take your family? Why would Allah take your wealth? Why would Allah take your health? And then he goes to the people around who are also suffering from difficulty. لو علم الله في أيوب خيرا. If Allah knew of any good in Ayub, he wouldn't have done this to him. What kind of Rabb, what kind of Lord does this to Ayub alayhi salam? He goes for the kill, poisons the difficulty with doubt as well. Let me see if I can really make this doubt bad. Let me see if I can really take this difficulty and rank as high as I possibly can. The same thing with desire. The same thing with desire. Yeah, Shaytan's a little happy if you taste a little bit of that desire in haram. But Shaytan will also come to you and say, why would Allah even make this haram? You're not really hurting anybody. What kind of religion tells you can't do this? Look at all these other people. What if there is no Jannah? You've been restraining yourself for no reason from all of these different types of things. Why are you even withholding yourself? And that's why when we think of Adam alayhi salam and Hawa, we always talk about the desire that caused them to be expelled, right? Their desire. خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ عَجُولًا. Man was created in haste, but it's more than that. Shaytan goes for the kill. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَوَسْوَسَ لَهُمَا الشَّيْطَانُ. Shaytan whispered to them. You know, this wasn't like Adam alayhi salam and Shaytan are hanging out in paradise. No. وَسْوَسَ لَهُمَا الشَّيْطَانُ. Shaytan came in there, al-waswas, whispered, بِصَوْتٍ خَفِي. Some of the mufassirun say, a light voice, hey. And he doesn't just say, that tree has really, really good fruit. What was on the tree, by the way? What type of fruit? I don't want to put you all on the spot, but we never heard it was an apple, sorry. But the UK overall, they passed the Aqidah test. All right? No one said apple except for a couple of others, but I'm not going to do like Mufti Mink did the cameraman, but at least alhamdulillah, Mufti Mink made it up to him, mashallah. I'll make it up to you as well. We just know it was some sort of fruit, right? Some sort of fruit in paradise, right? Did Shaytan just say, listen, that fruit tastes really, really, really good. It tastes better than all of the other trees. Let your desire live a little bit. No. What did he say to them? مَا نَهَاكُمَا رَبُّكُمَا. Your Lord did not forbid you عَنْ هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةِ إِلَّا, except for what? أَن تَكُونَا مَلَكَيْنِ. Except that it would make you angels. There's a doubt here. If you were to eat from this tree, you might become angels. أَوْ تَكُونَا مِنَ الْخَالِدِينَ. Or you'd have eternity. Or you'd have eternity. See, Shaytan, at the end of the day, he eats from the tree. He's happy. But let me put some doubt into it as well. If I can get Adam alayhi salam to have some su'a dhan in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to have a bad assumption of Allah in the process as well, and tell him, you know, Allah only forbade you from this tree because if you eat from it, you become angels and you live forever, then I can put some shak on the shahwa. I can put some doubt on the desire as well. Now, subhanAllah, the irony of this is that Adam alayhi salam is better than an angel at the end of the day if he keeps his connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That the human beings are served by the angels in paradise for 100 years, 200 years? No, for eternity. Should they maintain their connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But again, let me take the shahwa, let me put some of that poison in it. You know, the only reason Allah told you not to eat from this tree, because if you ate from it, you'd become angels or you'd live forever, eternity. Shaytan tries to poison it with doubt. That is the job of Shaytan, is to try to make the waswas, to try to make the whispers as detrimental as possible. Now here's the thing, your doubts are never organic. People don't like to hear that when they say, I have doubts about my faith, doubts crept in. You know, and we make the mistake of trying to treat an emotional doubt with an intellectual answer sometimes. And they don't need an intellectual answer right now. And then some people feel insulted when you say, look, maybe there's some trauma that led you to this. Because somehow trauma means that when you say that to someone, you might be diminishing their intellect. But the reality is that we've all been traumatized in some ways. We've all been hurt in some ways. We've all gone through some sort of emotional turmoil to where the Shaytan can exploit vulnerabilities that we may not even know exist within us. Because sometimes we don't even know ourselves. You know, as I was saying the other night, the Shayateen that run social media, they have algorithms that know you better than you know yourself. You got to study yourself better than social media studies you. Study your own algorithm. Study your own vulnerabilities, because they will be exploited in ways that you don't even know, and vulnerabilities you don't even know exist. So how did I arrive at this doubt? Where did it come from? Where did it come from? What happened in the last few years? You mean to tell me that the last few years have not led people to crisis of faith? You mean to tell me that someone dying in your family, or a career, a hang up, or something happening with your university pursuit, or your inability to get married to the person you wanted to get married to, you mean to tell me that did nothing to maybe spur this for you? Of course, we're human beings. We're not just intellectual beings, and it would be wrong to think of ourselves as such. There is a source to that, and Shaytan wants to lead you to a particular conclusion. And it would be misguided to simply try to solve this at the surface level and not get back to what caused this in the first place. SubhanAllah, when you read about God image, Dr. Uthman Umarji, hafidhahullah ta'ala, actually wrote a paper at Yaqeen on God image. There's data, psychology to this, about how we interpret God in our lives, and how that's related to authority figures in our lives, and how that means certain names and attributes speak to us in a certain way, and certain doubts can interrupt us in a certain way. You try to go back to the source, right? But before we even get to the source, subhanAllah, the Sahaba come to the Prophet ﷺ. Say, Ya Rasulullah, we get these thoughts inside of us, and for us to be thrown off of a mountaintop, burned, hurt, like we would rather physically endure pain than to speak these thoughts. Sometimes thoughts come to us that are so blasphemous that if we said them, we would rather be hurt than say them. We're guilty for even feeling this way. How did I even hear this? How did I even think this inside? And the Prophet ﷺ says, did you really find that inside of you? Did you really hear that inside of you? I said, yes, Ya Rasulullah. What the Prophet ﷺ says here could either completely derail someone and put them on a path to where the Shaytan will have them forever, or it can empower them to where the Shaytan becomes smaller than a mosquito. And of course, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Imam of al-Huda, the Imam of guidance, is going to give them what is best for them. He says, did you really find that inside of you? And they said, yes. The Prophet ﷺ said, ذَاكَ صَرِيحُ الْإِيمَانِ. That is clear faith, clear Iman. SubhanAllah, he flipped it to what they thought. They thought they were going to get a condemnation, right? The Prophet ﷺ said, how rewardable, what type of Iman do you have then? Alhamdulillah. And the Prophet ﷺ praises Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, الَّذِي رَدَّ كَيْدَ الشَّيْطَانِ, the one who reduced the plotting of Shaytan to where all he has are waswasa. All he has are these whispers. That's all he's got on you. Now, what is sarihul iman? What is clear faith? Is the Prophet ﷺ praising the words that they're hearing? No, the Prophet ﷺ is praising the fact that they don't like that they feel this way, and they want to squash it because they feel like it is interfering with their pursuit of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They feel like it's getting in the way. I don't like that I have this thought sometimes. I don't like that this came up. ذَاكَ صَرِيحُ الْإِيمَانِ. Dear brothers and sisters, those of you who, when you hear a whisper and you say, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, and you still pray, and you still fast, and you still exert yourself, and you still say, I'm a Muslim, never identify yourself by shak, never identify yourself by doubt. Shak and waswas are two different things. In English, it'll come as doubt. Never identify yourself by the doubt. Identify yourself as the one who's a Muslim, who submits themselves no matter what. Destination Jannah. And if the doubt creeps in, I'm going to reduce it to a whisper of Shaytan. Know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards you as a result of that. ذَاكَ صَرِيحُ الْإِيمَانِ. May Allah bless you. Take it as something, inshallah ta'ala, that Allah will reward you for, that Shaytan tried and he failed. He tried and he failed. And then how much more rewarded are you when you then take that, وَلِيَطْمَئِنَّ قَلْبِي, so that my heart is at ease, I shut as many doors as I can to where that whisper can't even come back. Shaytan, you failed here, you're going to have to try something else. that doubt did not work because I'm just going to, the doubt was meant to paralyze me, take me off the path. I'm actually going to instead use it to make me more knowledgeable in my deen, to build my foundations, and I'm going to increase my practice because I didn't like the way that I felt just now. I didn't like that doubt came in. That's faith. That's iman. You shouldn't be guilty. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to, on the day of judgment say to you that you had this waswasa, therefore it's in your book. No. You didn't let Shaytan win. Doubts, whispers are not exactly the same thing. Whispers are meant to cause doubts to settle, just like whispers are meant to cause difficulties to settle, just like whispers are meant to cause difficulties to make you stagnant so you can't move anymore, so that you can't come close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Shaytan uses different ingredients for you, but can you shut it off? Can you plug those holes and still maintain your pursuit of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Because you know, gates closing. I don't have time for your shoe shine. I don't have time for your chocolate. I don't have time for your Dead Sea salt. I'm going that way. I'm on the way over there. I don't care how appetizing this sounds. I don't care how good this sounds. You know, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned to us that on that straight path, you have all those doors and you have curtains on the side. And you got the Shaytan calling you, this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. He doesn't care which door he gets you through. Come this way, come this way, come this way. Now I want to put it together, bidnillahi ta'ala. I know my time is running a bit short. The goal of this, bidnillahi ta'ala, dear brothers and sisters, I want you to connect the beginning of the Quran to the end of the Quran and see what that journey looks like. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, guide us to the straight path. Shaytan says, لَأَقْعُدَنَّ لَهُمْ صِرَاطَكَ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ. I will sit right there and try to interrupt them on sirat al-mustaqim. At the end of the Quran, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ مَلِكِ النَّاسِ إِلَهِ النَّاسِ. SubhanAllah, all you're doing is you're seeking connection to Allah. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, لَا تَسُبُّ الشَّيْطَانِ. Don't even curse the devil. Don't waste your time cursing the shaitan. When you do that, he becomes bigger than your house. You give him too much importance. Stop inflating his importance. But instead say, Bismillah, in the name of Allah, because he disturbed you to take your attention away. So if you focus all your attention on him, he's still achieving his purpose. Shaytan doesn't mind being a low life. You know, when they say for a low life, all attention is good attention. That's the Shaytan. There's no such thing as bad press. That's Shaytan. I don't care. Focus on me. He wants to take you away from Allah. So he said, say Bismillah, make him smaller than a bug. Squash him. This is the journey of the Quran. وأكون للخير العميم مثالا.